Hello, welcome back. I think it calls more for silence, but it also calls for an applause. Rafa, please join me on stage for this Q&A. This is your applause. Thank you for this movie, for this beautiful film. I think we all felt it in the room. And let me just jump in right away, because the last thing we heard was this beautiful singing voice, very church-like. I think it stays very present with you, even though the ending and the credits are silent. But this glacier was not silent at all. It was also, to me, kind of like singing. But how do you give a voice, or how do you find a voice to something like that?
Yeah, we as a filmmakers, we are we have the privilege to, and probably this is our job, to stay and watch for a long time. Usually in our life, we just arrive to somewhere, we enjoy it for a while, and then we need to take photos, and it's not bad, and we try to catch as much as possible. But as a filmmakers, we have this privilege to stay and for years to just look one point, look something, and also listen. And when you are in front of a glacier and you have time to spend there, then you start to listen how is moving and how is cracking and how is speaking and how is always feeling pain. I don't know. And then you have the opportunity to pay attention to that. And then the voice of the glacier, it was very important because the voice is the most human thing that we have. And the words, as because all the animals have some things, the sight and many things that we can share with them, but the voice is something that is very human. And from the beginning, we had this idea that we wanted to empathize with the glacier itself, and it's easy to empathize with our characters, but the way to empathize with the glacier, it was to put in front of us the voice and trying to make it very present the whole time.
You were speaking about you being there, watching something for a very, very long time. And I know you've been to Iceland quite some times before. But I think what we saw also with the people in the movie, they've all been quite in awe in front of this glacier. They've been all struck by it. Very nice. How was it with you and your team behind the camera? How did you navigate this terrain? Were you just too stunned to do anything all the time, or what did you feel navigating it?
Yeah, the film starts with the impression that I have. I visit Iceland the same year than Pepe. Me and Pepe, we always co-direct our films, and for some reason we went to Iceland the first time the same year. It's just 20 years ago, but in different moments. And yeah, the first time I always explain that, but in the first time I was in front of the glacier, and it was this specific glacier. I felt the same thing, or the closest thing, as I felt when, as a child, I believe in God. Um, and I can recognize what to believe in God means. I don't believe in God right now, but I know and I have experienced how powerful it is when you have in front of something that it's bigger than you, it's overwhelming. You cannot catch everything, but at certain times it moves you to do something. And then I had this feeling the first time I was there. So after that, this idea to make a film about a glacier, the idea of a glacier, it was pursuing us during these last 20 years. And then we have, for some reason, we have been in Iceland once, and we made a film before, but always with this idea of the glacier before inside of us. And then we found the family, and then we found the farm, that it was a still life itself. And then we had this privilege to stay filming in a glacier with all these technical issues that it has to be in a glacier, especially for people like us that we live in the Mediterranean, this warm and flat sea. But it was very challenging also because sometimes when we were filming, and sometimes we had these tiny moments that we were just waiting and we were looking around us, and it was like, okay, we cannot believe what we are doing here. And then it was very, it was inspiring us the whole time. Okay, we have to try to catch it as much as possible. That it is difficult because in a flat screen it's difficult. But it was always very, very pushing us. Okay, we have to share that with somebody. If we have a privilege to be here, we have decided to make this film, and we have to try to get to share a little bit of this feeling with the people, and this love and this strength. So I hope we try it at least a little.
I think it worked, and I think it worked for most or all of us. And I like that you always keep saying we, not only referring obviously to the team, but also to your co-director. And watching this movie, I was thinking a lot actually about the we aspect, because seeing the scenery, the landscape, it very much to me shows me solitude. It's this glacier that we leave, we as humans, leave dying alone up there where we don't really have to take care of it. But then watching the photographer, Ragnar, when he's encountering the glacier, he's never alone. They're always kind of in pairs. And I was wondering, why is that? Is that because they're mourning together and that's maybe easier to do that, or?
Yeah, the glacier is fascinating, but it's also dangerous. And then it's much better to be with somebody there. But at the same time, you always have this feeling of solitude, because even being a group of people, it's so big that you always have this feeling that it's between being scary and at the same time being so attached to this place. But the feeling of the solitude and to put you in your place in the world, in a very small, very, very tiny place, it's very present the whole time when you are in a glacier. And yeah, we talk about we, but the most, because we were a very small team, to be honest. Yeah, we never had this feeling that we were like a group. We had a lot of times this feeling of we are nothing here. We are just nothing. And yeah, Ragnar always comes with somebody else because they wanted to share. Of course, for questions of for security reasons, always is better to be with somebody else, but also because when Ragnar arrives there, and all these people who arrives there to the farm, like pilgrims to this little place, they wanted to share their approach, because basically what is happening here, that this guy, Flossie, one of the siblings, started to study the glacier, and then these notebooks and this film that we found that it was made. We don't know exactly who was the DOP, but I think it was a German DOP. We have researched, but this 20 minutes film about him, and they were like leaving little stones in a path that now many people is following. So, but from different sides. Ragnar was spending some summers there, and now he has dedicated his whole life to make photos of the Arctic. But then this scientist that now is trying to, the Rathhildur, the woman with the blue nails, that she's trying to teach other people to do the same that Flossie was doing. But then also this young guide, the blonde one, that she's trying to show to the others the glacier, but at the same time she is realizing that maybe it's part of the problem. So all they are together because the glacier, and also they are following the steps that somebody else did before, and probably the film, or probably we are one of these pilgrims that we arrived there, and then what it was in our hands, it was to make a film, and that's what we did.
I think also we are all here because of the glacier, so I would like to open up the discussion to the audience. If there's any questions maybe already?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the film. It was very beautiful. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about limitations or the difficulties that you had while shooting? Because I can imagine that this was a very difficult terrain, also maybe logistically and equipment wise. And you said that you were already in a small team. Can you tell us a bit about how this was going and how you were shooting in such a crazy location?
Yeah. Yeah, the majority of times that we went, because we used to film in different stages, not for logistic questions, also because we need to understand what we are doing. And then sometimes we travel without the camera, because if we travel with the camera, we have the temptation of filming. And sometimes we travel, me and Pepe alone, just to stay with the people and to just walk around and watch, and then we have a feeling, and then we go back. But usually the team that we are, it's Pepe and me, and then on the glacier we were not having somebody for the sound. I was making the sound on the glacier. Later on the farm we had a sound engineer from Iceland, and our DOP, and then a guide. It became one part of the film as a character that is Iris, the blonde young woman, and that's all. Because if not, it was so complicated, because there are a lot of cracks, and then it was always good to be together. It's not like, okay, you can give us some distance and then we walk alone to some place. It was very dangerous. So we had to be in a very small group, and always somebody has to, usually the guide, she was walking to say, okay, this is a safe path. You can stay there and I will come back to you. And of course the cold, but especially the wind, because Iceland is a very windy, more than cold, it's a windy country. And as you have seen, the wind is always present in the film, inside the house and outside the house. And yeah, it was really freezing, and the batteries go down very easily. And also our DOP, that we have been working with him for more than 20 years, and he's 64 now. He was a little bit scary, not only because the environment, also because the responsibility with the camera. So yeah, I used to make to walk in the mountains a long time ago. So I felt more confident. So I was carrying the camera, the sound equipment, and Pepe was carrying the tripod. So it was hard, because a few months later, the last time we were shooting now I know that now, but I broke one of my vertebral discs. I don't know, how is it? Yeah, and I have an injury, and probably the doctors, after a few months, they realized that probably it was the reason. So yeah, I lost the mobility of one of my legs, but I can walk now. So for a while I was thinking, maybe it's the last film I can do in that way. So, but this is just something that it was very nice, because it helps me to experience even more how tiny thing we are in this world. And then we have to use our time to do as much as possible, as much as in our hands, like they teach us, like they are an example for us in that sense. So yeah, it was a physical experience too.
But it's not the last film, hopefully.
No, we are working in another film, and probably another short film in Iceland, because one of the characters, always the places you visit inspires you for the next one. So probably one of the characters will be the main character of a short film that we will do in Iceland.
So be ready for the next DOK.fest. And we would also be ready for a second question. Yes.
You have chosen for the very last pictures to show when the people tried to cover the glacier with cloth. And the very last picture was, for me, it showed how absurd it is to try this. It was like Dada art. That's the one point I want to ask. And the second, I had the feeling, especially the second half of the film, that it is, I'm not sure about the word morbidity, it's a word, okay. And not only because you show how the glacier is dying, but also concerning in the background about this family and also this house. Everything feels and tastes like dying. Maybe I see it too dark, but I want just to ask what you wanted to show also, because you mentioned this family, this a bit strange family.
It's a very strange family, right? Yeah, about what you starting with the first question. Yeah, we always have a feeling, in our mind. Okay, we would like to make a film about that, but all our films start with an image, and when we visualize this image, then it gives us the power to start to look how to explain something that this image inspires us. It starts more than with an image than with an idea. And the image that started this film, it was one friend of us who is a photographer, showed us some pictures of these people covering glaciers with these white clothes to protect it from the sun in summer. And then we had the same feeling as you. We are able to make this huge, extraordinary of effort to do something like this to cover the glacier, but at the same time, it's the image of the absurdity and somehow the stupidity. No? Because it's a huge effort, a huge action to stop something that is not happening right there. It's happening all around. But at the same time, and this is the great thing of us as humans, there are people that still try to do something. It's epic, but at the same time, it's for nothing. And then this image and this idea start the film. And then the second one was when we discovered the story of the family. Because it's sad and everything is dying. It's a still life. The film itself is like a kind of requiem, but also in terms of photography is like a still life. All these pictures that we have seen in art history of oranges and then animals, that the life is still there, but we know that they are dying. Few months, few weeks, few hours later, they will be dead. That is what is really happening with the glaciers. And the glaciologist, the old glaciologist is very pessimistic, more than us. But, death is full of beauty. If we think in a requiem, no, Mozart one or whatever, death has been always it has been always a kind of power to humans to react. Like what is happening in the last image. Sometimes because we know that if you smoke, you can die, but you still smoke. And then sometimes we have to arrive to the limit, and then the history of humanity is full of death, because we are these strange animals that we need to arrive to the limits to probably make a change. So the death is not the end. Of course, in a religious way, there are many explanations for that. But in a non-spiritual way, it's not the end. And and it's a sad story, but we know the data, like about smoking. We know the data about what is happening in our planet, and probably we know the solutions. And we try to approach from another way, because with all the data that smoke can kill you, and we still smoke, then we try to make this approach through beauty. That is something that in our personal life always has worked. We are moved. I move, and I probably, all of us, we are moved for the beauty, because if not, probably you will not be here. And I'm sure that all of you have the experience to be in front of a painting or something and to be moved, and it changed your life for a while. And then we try to make this approach from beauty, but we didn't avoid the reality of the death.
In the end, even Jesus was resurrected after 3 days after the PIETÀ scene, so maybe there is some hope for the glaciers, but we're sadly running out of time.
Okay.
But I believe you might be still around for some minutes.
Yeah, I will stay right here. Yeah.
So please,
Yeah,
very welcome.
See you right here.
Maybe a chat outside, because I
Thank
think
you
there's a
very much.
lot to say.
Thank you very much.
I thank you. I do have two service announcements before we leave the stage, because this movie is not only in the DOK International competition, it's also nominated for the Kino Award by BR and Dreisat. So if you scan the QR code that you see over there, you can vote for this movie, because you are the people that choose who this audience award will be going to. It might be La Pietà, we will see that soon. And there's a second service announcement, which is actually also very beautiful, because in cooperation with the HFF, there's at the moment also the 20th anniversary of the Kirchmedia Arts Scholarship here at HFF München. And it combines 3 works from 3 generations of scholarship recipients, and it's presented together from 10th until the 16th May. It's called Dauerschleife, the exhibition, and you can find it in the television studio over here. It's running parallel to the HFF, and it is also worth checking out. But for now, I would say thank you, Rafa. It was a pleasure having you here. It was an incredible talk, and see you outside.
See you.
Bye. Have a lovely evening and a safe way home.